across the U.S. and in many countries of the world. Our club has been a leader in international projects to eradicate polio and now to eradicate malaria. Light topics, I would say, we tackled. My name is Nancy Cahill and I'm the current president. Our theme this year is Gather, Engage, Serve. We like to begin our meetings with music and inspiring words. Our music will be led by Raymond Tymus Jones and accompanied by Ryan Bunbury with an inspiration by Joel Padgett. Raymond?
So it's raining outside. It's in the afternoon, but it's still a beautiful morning somewhere. Won't you join me? There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. And a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy it don't pass a tree. And the old weeping willow is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Everything's going my way.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here. Can you believe that we're a month away from the first day of spring? And I just want to remind everybody of one of the most beautiful sights in Seattle, just so you don't miss it. And that is the cherry blossoms trees out at the Quad at the University of Washington. And they were brought to us by the University of Washington from Japan in 1939. And they were planted originally in the Arboretum, and then they were replanted at the Quad. But you got to be there basically within about 5 days to 2 weeks to sort of catch them at their peak. So that's why I'm giving you a warning. I'm giving you a head start to get it on your calendar because it is a sight to be seen. It's almost like they are blooming for their own joy, but also for our entertainment. So be sure to see it. Spring is also a time when kings go to war. We're told in the Bible that King Nebuchadnezzar in the spring of Babylon, waged war on King Hezekiah in Judea. And there's King David, and he sent his general Jacob in the spring out to do war. But David stayed behind. Some of you might remember the story. And he got in a little trouble with Bathsheba, which gave some basis for the lyrics to Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah song, which you might be familiar with. But I pray and I hope that no more kings or politicians are seeking war this spring. It's hard to believe that 2 years ago, as of this week, that Russia invaded the Ukraine. So it may be a lot to ask, Lord, but I do pray for sustaining peace this spring in so many areas of our world. You have said that blessed are the peacemakers, for they can be called the sons of God. And I just ask that we have some of those sons of God to bring peace accords that are fair and just and don't reward the aggressors, so that everyone can smell the blossoms of spring. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Joel, for your thoughtful words and the prayer for peace. And Raymond and Ryan for starting our meeting with such an upbeat song. We're grateful today to Logan Riley for handling our meeting reporting for our website and newsletter, and to Mary Goldie for hosting our Zoom participants. We have several guests to welcome today. As I read your names, please stand and remain standing until I introduce all our guests so we can welcome you at once. A number of prospective new members are here. David Watkins from Aegis Living, Consul General Prakash Gupta, he's the Consul General of India, Seattle. We have Dilsalana Garcia, Rafael Garcia Jericho, an architect. We have Kay Kim from KC Catering, Seattle. We have Dea Samantri from KC Catering, Seattle. We have Carson O'Connor, a guest of Logan Riley. And then we have Connor Law. He is the VP of Capital Development at Trueline Capital, a guest of Virginia McKenzie. We have Randy Hodge. He's the VP of External Affairs at the University of Washington, the guest of President Cauce. We have Jennifer Houston, Strategic Policy Advisor and Federal Relations Director for the Office of King County Executive Dow Constantine. We have Edward Snell from Fairhope, which is one of the 3 clubs in Alabama, Rotary, and he's the district governor down there for District 6880. And I'm pleased that we have our King County Executive, Dow Constantine, with us today. So let's give a thank you for him, for his service, and everyone together. We appreciate our guests immensely. We have one interesting Rotary Club anniversary that I wanted to acknowledge today. Neil McReynolds has been in our club for 50 years, and I'd love him to stand so that we could acknowledge him. Sometimes those anniversary acknowledgments make you nervous because people are figuring out your age, but he only joined us at age 8, so I think he's fine to be still a nice young man. So we're grateful for you, Neil, and glad you could be with us today. We are pleased to have been able to welcome more than a dozen new members into Seattle for just this Rotary year, and today we meet our 2 newest members. Tiffany Lewis will introduce Colin Olden, followed by Ani Black's introduction of Ariel Delaney.
All right, good morning. So fellow Rotarians and guests, my name is Tiffany Lewis, and I am honored today to introduce one of our newest members, Colin Moriarty Olden. Colin's classification is insurance, and his proposer is Jen Gladish. Born in, There we go, perfect. Born in 1995, Colin comes from a long legacy of roots from the Pacific Northwest. In fact, he is a fifth-generation Seattleite and a seventh-generation Washingtonian. Colin is also a fourth-generation Husky, and more on that later. Colin's hobbies include tennis, cooking, a skill he honed while studying abroad in France, reading, and live entertainment like Beyonce's show in London this past summer, which I really want to hear about, by the way. Sorry, I got to multitask here. Here we go. Colin graduated high school from Bishop Blanchette in 2013, where he rode crew at Green Lake and was the editor of the high school paper, The Miter. After graduation from Bishop Blanchette, Colin went on to University of Washington, where he graduated in 2017 cum laude from the College of Built Environments with a major in urban planning and minor in law, societies, justice. While at UW, Colin was extremely involved in volunteering, student life, and partaking in associations dedicated to business development and career advancement. He was even homecoming prince. University of Washington was also where a professional leadership class taken in his junior year, taught by our very own Dorothy Bullitt, first introduced Colin to the Seattle 4 Rotary. Although Colin's initial intent post-university was to attend law school, he was hesitant to commit to the opportunity cost of a JD. Meanwhile, around the same time, his mother, Susan, was working on creating an insurance brokerage firm that specialized in active shooter coverage and risk management for LGBTQ spaces, places of worship, and schools. She asked him to consider deferring law school for a year and instead partner with her on the new venture, Watchie Insurance Group. Colin and Susan started the company in 2017, just after graduating from UW, and he served as the operating partner for almost 4 years. Following Watchie, Colin switched gears and moved to Hub International, his first corporate job. After 3 years at Hub International, USI approached Colin to join their firm. This past August, he accepted their offer and currently serves as a property and casualty risk consultant broker specializing in real estate, financial institutions, and nonprofits. Simultaneously, Colin's working on completing his associates in risk management and chartered property casualty underwriter designations. When I asked Colin why Rotary, he replied, quote, "Dorothy inspired me to join when I took her professional leadership class. At UW, the atmosphere was centered around engagement, and there were numerous opportunities for me to get involved. After graduating, and especially by working remotely, my volunteering felt much less impactful." When I asked Colin what he was most excited about, he replied, "I'm really excited to be a part of a service-driven group of professionals with a large membership base that will lead to impactful changes in our community. Professionally, I am looking forward to meeting like-minded individuals, the opportunity for mentorship and networking, and giving back to the community surrounding." And with that, I am honored to welcome Colin Moriarty Olden.
Good afternoon. My name is Ani Black, and it's my pleasure to introduce our new Rotary member, Ariel Delaney. She is a corporate member sponsored by Sarah Weaver, and her classification is Foundations and Philanthropy. Ariel was born in Oregon, raised in Florida and Vermont, and grew up in a bilingual household. At age 19, she volunteered for Project Chacochente in Nicaragua, which focused on education and agricultural transformation. A Rotary chapter in Vermont helped to fund her trip, and she gave a presentation to them about the organization. After college, she joined the Peace Corps for 2 years in Morocco, where she focused on clean water projects and midwifery trainings. She later worked for African Development Solutions in Kenya and managed cash-based programming for vulnerable households in Somalia. She's in the yellow. In 2015, she moved to Seattle and worked as a global programs coordinator for Planned Parenthood. And 4 years ago, Ariel was hired by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and is currently an associate officer in their Global Growth and Opportunity Division. There, she utilizes her expertise in global health, community development, and organizational management. She is also employed part-time by Malaria Partners International and has worked alongside some Seattle 4 Rotarians, such as Charlie Dickey. There he is. Ariel holds 2 bachelor's degrees from Castleton University in Communication and Literature and a master's degree in Sustainable International Development from Brandeis University. Her greatest cheerleader is her husband, Travis, of 10 years. They are kept very busy with an energetic 18-month-old son and a 7-year-old daughter at their home in Lake Stevens. Ariel loves a good book, cooking, running, and hiking. Her husband introduced her to camping during COVID, where she has come to appreciate the luxury of being off the grid and out of cell service. She joined Rotary because she believes in volunteerism and in service before self, and has worked with Rotarians who effectively put this motto into action. Please give a warm welcome to Ariel Delaney.
Ariel and Colin, just awesome introductions by Tiffany and Ani. We are giving each of you a pin. And I want you to wear this pin in pride. It will reflect your connection with the 1.6 million Rotarians around the world endeavoring to make a difference in all that we do. Congratulations. All of you this year. Now we welcome to the stage our member Dorothy Bullitt, who will introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Nancy. Annemarie Cauce is the 33rd president of the University of Washington, where she has been a member of the faculty since 1986. A graduate of Miami and Yale University, University of Miami and Yale University. She's a noted scholar who received numerous awards for her research, as well as the university's Distinguished Teaching Award, a very big deal for any faculty member. During the decade I taught leadership at the Evans School, I was repeatedly impressed by President Cauce's impact on my students, particularly the undergraduates. Everyone admitted to my undergraduate leadership course, like Colin, was already a proven leader in student government, athletic teams, fraternities, sororities, suicide prevention groups, all different kinds of groups. Again and again, my students expressed their gratitude to President Cauce for her inspiration, her encouragement, and her great example. This was not the case for any of her predecessors. Before becoming president in 2015, Annemarie served as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and Provost, the university's chief academic officer. In 2008, she played a key role in establishing Husky Promise, a program that has helped more than 40,000 low-income students attend the UW. Since becoming president, Cauce has put a spotlight on the UW's work in population health across the university and been a champion for ensuring the UW remains accessible and affordable to for all students. As president, throughout her tenure, she has worked to advance the university's mission of serving the public good by focusing on the UW's impact on the lives of the people in Washington and throughout the world. We are so lucky she has been the president of our University of Washington, and we are so lucky to welcome her today, President Anna Marie Cauce.
Thank you so much. It really is my pleasure to be here. It's been a while since when I was last here, but it really is, wonderful to be here with this wonderful group of people, and I am going to do my best, although I never promise. I'm going to try my best to try and be a little shorter than the 20 minutes, because what I really want to do is make sure that there's time to answer the questions that you have. Again, thank you so much, Dorothy, for the fabulous introduction. And again, this is a very special group. For over a century, this group has served community needs, fostered friendships and fellowships, and it's really helped our city to thrive. And so I really am grateful to all that you do to make this a better world. Now, my hunch is, given that I've talked to some of you, we have a few Huskies in this room, don't we? All right. One of the things that's really fun, and it's a real testament to how our alumni give back, that at so many different places, the room is packed with Huskies. But the truth is that whether you are a Husky or an alum or not, you are connected to the University of Washington. You might have a family member that's a student there. You might go to one of our games, a football game, a basketball game, a volleyball game. Maybe you walk through the Arboretum. Or, perhaps either you or someone that you love has been a patient at one of our clinics or at UW Hospital. Or simply the fact that your taxpayers connects you to the University of Washington. We like to think of this as your university. In fact, I like to think of us as the university for Washington, not just of Washington. And we really do take our public service obligation very, very seriously. This has been an interesting year, unprecedented in some very positive ways as well. The Husky football team was undefeated until the very last game. In fact, there was more than 20 games in a row that we won. We were the Pac-12 champion and number 2 in the nation. That is not bad at all. But as much as we loved winning, playing in the national championship, even if we didn't win, it was just so much fun to be there. What was really fun was watching the way that our players tackled the experience, the way that the team really came together. I love the fact, some of you may know Ed Lazowska, who's a very famous computer scientist at our university. He's texting me about an interview that he heard where Roma Dunze was talking about the university. He said, "That guy's really good, he's smart," and yes, he is. Or I don't know about you, but I had chills up and down my spine when at the Heisman game, Mike Penix opened up his jacket and it had the names of all the players in it. Oh my God, what a young man that he is. It was so amazing. And in so many ways, when he opened up that jacket, and it had all the players' name on it, what it reminded me of so much was something else that was very special that we got to celebrate this year, and that was the release of the Boys in the Boat movie that was all about being one. For those of you that don't know, and if you haven't seen it, it is available to stream, and I really recommend it. It gets 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience has loved this movie. I certainly have. I've watched it 3 or 4 times now. It's the story of young men from modest means. These were not the Ivy League background kids. They were, kids very much of modest means with difficult backgrounds who really came together as at the UW as a team. And it was through great coaching and their own determination that, again, this was the rowing team, that they found their swing. And they ended up qualifying for the 1936 Berlin Olympics. And this was a big deal because, you know, the big rowing teams in those days were all the Ivy Leagues. And here were, you know, a bunch of, you know, kids from a public school, often part of the world that people didn't even know existed, that they won the championship. But it turns out it cost money. It was about $5,000, and in those days, that was a lot of money to go to the Berlin Olympics, and the university didn't have it. And so they were all getting ready to let some other team go when it was the Seattle Times that really had a campaign that was really about people putting together nickels and dimes and quarters and dollars and $5, and in a relatively short period of time, because that's all they had, they were able to put together the money that was needed to send these kids to the Berlin Olympics, which was a huge deal for these young men, and quite frankly, for our city. And no surprise, they won. And again, you have to think about it. These were a bunch of scruffy, no-name kids winning the Berlin Olympics under Hitler. And that was an amazing statement. And you know, what I love about this moving story is that as much as it's a piece of our history, and it is a piece of our history, I think it says a lot. I mean, this city and this university is still recognizable in that film. We are still a place that comes together, where the university and the city work hand in hand, where a young man who had injury after injury comes to the University of Washington and opens up his coat, and he has the name of all the players in it. It really is that story about how, you know, we are one, and that is really an important theme that is still there. We are still, the University of Washington remains a place that's dedicated to creating world-class learning and opportunity for a student, no matter what kind of background they come from. The University of Washington is accessible to all. Thanks to support from places like the Seattle Times, Microsoft, our Alumni Association, and hundreds of donors from around the region, we've completed the fundraising to restore that historic shell house from Boys in the Boat. And I can assure you there will be people from all over the world coming to visit that shell house and connecting with that spirit of Boys in the Boat and the notion of swing and of all of us being one. And again, what was true in the 1930s, I want to repeat that, is true today, that every student from any Washington community can aspire to the kind of meaningful college experience that can lead to a productive and satisfying life and career. Some people, I was surprised that the movie didn't say this at the end, but Joe Rance, in fact, 3 of the 8 crew members went on to work for Boeing as engineers. So, I mean, yes, they were athletes, but they were students, and they went on to make important contributions to our community. And one of the reasons why I love coming out to speak with folks like you is to make clear the message that, you know, too often students are worried about how they're going to pay for college, or that they're going to go into so much debt that it's not going to be a good value proposition for them. But we're really lucky to live in Washington, which is now a national leader in making public higher education affordable. Much more affordable than most families realize. And I really need you to go out and give that message for students. Don't not apply because you don't think you can pay for it. In fact, through programs like our Legislator College Promise program, like the Husky Promise program, about 70% of all our undergraduates graduate with 0 known debt. 70%. And of that 30 to 31% that do have debt, the average is less than $20,000 of debt. And again, I'm not saying that that's nothing, but given the boost that you get in earnings and in, getting a college degree, it's about earnings, but also you're much more apt to give back. You're much more apt to vote. You tend to have better health. So the payback from that $20,000 is more than enough. And again, we continue to work hard to bring the costs down. And so I really, really want you to give the message that yes, a college degree is within reach. And quite frankly, obviously, I want them to come to the University of Washington, and we have 3 campuses, Seattle, Bothell, and Tacoma, but it's within reach across all our public universities, and we have a range of very, very good public universities. So please go out there and let students know that no matter what their means, that a UW degree, that a higher education degree, it's a pathway to economic security, to social mobility, and to opportunities to develop their passions and reach their full potential. And so it's really important that they don't just write it off because they're worried about debt. Because again, if you think about it, an average 4-year degree earner makes about 75% more than someone with just a high school diploma. And more, that will be the case, particularly in this state where we are so much of a high-tech business. And again, not only graduates of the Seattle campus, but of Bothell and Tacoma that are smaller campuses, and some students prefer to have a smaller experience that they can get. And Bothell now has its own dorms, and Tacoma is also working on developing theirs. All 3 are recognized as being some of the best schools in the country in terms of bang for buck, because our students do get good jobs, and they do end up being well employed. And it's partly for that reason that we are expanding our capacity in high-demand majors like computer science and engineering and other STEM degrees. Right now, we're adding capacity so that we can graduate an additional 300 more students a year in STEM fields and about 100 more in computer science. By 2027, we will be expanding those fields because students want to study them, and we want them to study those. We're also investing in cutting-edge fields like AI. We all hear about artificial intelligence, and we are on the cutting edge in that area. We're also looking at quantum computing and gaming. So there are a range of really fabulous opportunities that students can have, as well as wonderful liberal arts degrees, like psychology and social work, where you can serve the public. And I think it's also one of the things that we really love about going to a research university is that you study with faculty that not only is skilled at teaching, but who are actually involved in doing the research themselves, so that they expose students to tackling those grand challenges. And boy, I don't think I have to tell you, this world is facing some pretty amazing grand challenges. All of you are reading about the high levels of anxiety. There's reason for it. It is a time where the challenges are very real. Just to name a few, climate change and environmental degradation. We've been watching that and how it is fueling all kinds of what are no longer freak weather events because they're happening so much more often. The issues that we're having in terms of health. This is probably not the last pandemic that we're going to face, as well as all other kinds of issues that we're facing in terms of health. Threats to democracy. We are living in a very polarized society, and I can tell you that I'm already seeing our students are already concerned about the next election cycle. And these are very real, not to mention the degrees of inequities that we have in the world and the fact that some people still do not get the opportunities that they deserve. And I could go on and on and on. The challenges are very real. But research universities like the UW are really in a position to accelerate change for the public good. And, you know, we really are in a position where we can convene people to start working on these problems, where we can forge strong partnerships with the community. We don't think we can do, you know, the idea of the ivory tower is long gone. If you've seen our new buildings, we have a bunch of new buildings on 15th Avenue. They all have big glass so that you can see in. You can come in and see what's happening in the population health building. You can see the curators working in the Burke Museum. We don't want to build out walls to keep the community out. We want to build glass to have the community look and see what we're doing. And we want people to feel welcome and to come in. And by the way, we have a cherry camera, a quad camera, so that you can see exactly when they're at peak. And we have a light rail station where you can just walk about a block in and come and have a party. You will see people all over the quad having parties, etc. And we want that. We want you to come in. There's no question about it. We have the tools, the partnerships, and expertise to really make a difference in the world. And we really saw that. I mean, what we are, you know, mentioned the Population Health Initiative. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because you can just visit our webpage, look up population health. It's something we've been working on for a while, and we're using that as a model for some other challenges that we really want to tackle. What was cool about population health is we launched that initiative in 2016, and we were so well positioned when COVID came to play a lead. And the University of Washington did play a lead in the COVID pandemic, both in the city and around the world. And it's a perfect example of that idea of community. A lot of universities out there, what they did is they closed the doors and vaccinated their students and then kept everybody out. We, on the other hand, very much knew that our job was to vaccinate the city. And if we kept the city safe, it would keep our students safe. And if you look at our record, we actually had very low levels of COVID compared to other places. And part of that was because the entire city worked together. And that's what it is all about. As Randy was saying earlier, you know, one of the things that was hard is when we first launched the Population Health Initiative, which was all about the health of populations, not just of individuals. People would say, why are you so concerned about Ebola? Isn't it over there? Why are you concerned about those people? And now I don't have to explain to people that the health of anybody can quickly become the health of everybody, and that we are interconnected. Some of the other, but using that as kind of the basics of how we were able to, what was so incredible about the Population Health Initiative is it's not just about our hospitals, it's not just about our healthcare departments. It really brings together the whole university. The environment is a pillar of health. It is so much a part. Democracy is part of health. We have better health in democratic countries. There's no question. So it brought the university together. And we're doing that now in a couple of different areas, obviously in terms of the environment, and putting that front and center. We have the largest college of the environment in the world. And it really has a range of, from atmospheric sciences to forestry to oceanography. It covers the entire range. And because of that, we were selected as a founding partner in the New York Climate Exchange, which is a coalition of schools and universities across the country looking at solutions. Another big problem that we're going to be tackling, we've been talking about building an impact ecosystem. Again, how can we look at these grand challenges in an interdisciplinary way, is that of mental and behavioral health, which is a huge problem in this country, particularly, but not only, for young people. We are seeing higher rates of suicide, of depression, of anxiety than we have ever seen. And in Washington State, it's a huge problem. Nearly a quarter of adults with mental health problems report that they haven't been able to access care. 41% of the counties in the state don't even have one licensed psychiatrist. Okay, that is what we are dealing with. And at UW, we have a wide range of expertise, not just psychiatry. We have social work, we have psychology, we have wonderful networks that we're doing for our own students in terms of peer-to-peer interactions. And our UW Medical Center Northwest Campus will soon be a new center for behavioral health and learning, which is a unique facility for treating people struggling with the most serious behavioral health problems. What these issues, like every serious societal challenge, have in common, that they won't be solved by any single discipline or any single organization. And so what we need to do is find ways to collaborate, and that is what our deans are really working on. And large public research universities like the UW are ideally positioned to convene and contribute to this kind of broad problem solving. And we are doing it. There is no question, and you should hold us accountable for doing it. I often get asked about, what's our strategic plan? And I kind of laugh because ask ChatGPT to write you a strategic plan for a university, and it will sound like all the other strategic plans out there, because they all pretty much sound the same. I say it's as simple as and ambitious as we want to be the greatest research university in the world as measured by impact, by how we change our communities, by how we partner with our communities. And we need to work together to define what the challenges are, and then we need to work together to co-create solutions. And that's exactly what we're doing. Again, we want to be your partners. We want to change the world by educating wonderful students. And then we want to change the world by partnering with the county, by partnering with the city, by partnering with the state, even by partnering with that other Washington to create the kinds of policies that will make the world a better place. So I'm going to end there and take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was incredibly inspiring. I know I can speak for everybody here. Our first question is going to be from Jeff Borat.
Thank you so much. As an engineering alumni, I'm thrilled to have you here talking about partnering. A question, Boeing in the area had a long-standing relationship for engineering excellence, and they've lost their way clearly. Are there things that the university is or could be doing, because they seem to stand alone now in a corner and don't really seem to produce answers that are convincing anymore as to how they're going to turn things around? Your thoughts?
Well, I'll give you my thoughts, and I want to be clear, these are my thoughts, not necessarily. I think that and I should say that, my spouse's dad is a Boeing engineer, and, in Miami, quite frankly, I thought that engineers drove choo-choos. I didn't have much of a sense, and this is so much of an engineering place, and we owe so much to Boeing. Boeing has been one of the longest-standing partners of the university. I think we really focused, this was an engineering culture that was always about excellence, but quite frankly, we didn't focus maybe quite enough on the bottom line as we were seeing competition. I think when Boeing moved to Chicago, it became much more business-oriented, which they needed to do, but they lost the kind of deep engineering culture. And part of why I talk about interdisciplinarity is we have to bring those together. Some of the strongest partnerships that we have, one of the strongest partnerships we have at the university, which I love, is between our Foster School of Business and our College of Engineering. And I think that we need to be educating people who can work across those and bring those together, because you need both. Doing something excellently that no one can afford doesn't get you where you need to go, but just focusing on doing things that are cost-effective and not looking at the long range, as we know, has been a disaster. And I think we need to bring those together. I was reading an editorial that said that Boeing should move back to Washington State. I think that's...
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a joke about that some other time.
Question from John Bridge.
Well, thank you very much for being here, and we really owe you a great deal for being the president of the university, and we know that you're getting ready to retire, and we'd like you just to stay in that position for a little bit longer. Now, that isn't what I'd like you to
I've been here for 38 years. I promise that I will be here past 40.
Good, good. We're glad to hear that. One of the things that you mentioned was the partnership, and I know that we have our county exec here and mental health. Perfect
Yes.
to talk about that, and I know you will. But I'd like you to sort of expound a little bit about how diversity has worked at the university. We have a desire, oftentimes we talk in Rotary about DEI and how important that is. We'd like to hear about how we have done at our University of Washington in providing that diversity.
Yeah, no, that is, I think that what happens too often is that, people have, create this tension between diversity and excellence. But the truth is you can't have excellence without diversity. When you're really thinking about solving any problem, you need to bring diverse voices to the table. I think right now our biggest challenge is how do you bring them to the table and how do you engage them to talk in ways that are productive? I think that the polarization that we have in society and in our leadership has made its way down, and we are really trying to give our students some of that skills. The Jackson School, for example, right now is having a series, and I urge you all. A lot of the programs are online on the Middle East crisis, and we're bringing in people from a whole range of perspectives, Palestinian voices, Israeli voices, a whole range. We're looking at it from a public health perspective. We're looking at it in terms of the misinformation out there, and so. We're trying to look at it very broadly, and the idea isn't that everyone's going to agree, but how can we talk to each other constructively so that we can learn and come up with better solutions? And that's been one of the hard parts, but we are absolutely, one of the things that we do very well is we partner. When I say we partner with high schools all across the state, and we have ambassadors, because the best students, the best recruiters are not old gals like me, but if you can really have other students that are at the university go into their old high schools and talk about what a fabulous experience they're having. One of the problems we have is the UW is very large, and students can sometimes worry that they can get lost there. And we actually have a range of programs that weren't there when many of you were at the university. So we have a first-year FIG program that really allows people to go through their first year in groups. That is, we have freshman seminars. That's where I taught, the leadership course was part of a freshman seminar. And so we have a lot of ways of trying to make this great university, not small, but more intimate, because there are huge pluses to being big. As I often tell people, and both my niece and nephew went to the University of Washington, and I tell people all the time, the world is big in public, not small in private. And you're going to have to learn how to navigate complexity. And that complexity includes different viewpoints. So, we have been diversifying. We've been diversifying in leadership. I'm a Latina lesbian. Please, don't tell anybody. No. And what I'm saying is, when in 2015, that was absolutely unheard of. I mean, it really was. People were real worried about, could I raise money? Could I work with the legislature? Were they going to be able to accept me? It worked out pretty well. No, I mean, we've had the biggest, we are number 2 public universities in terms of fundraising. We've been doing great with the legislature, I mean, and so it starts with leadership. We have, if you look at our Board of Deans, it is much more diverse both ethnically and in terms of women than most universities are. This isn't something new for us. This has been something that we have been working on. One of our issues is, quite frankly, we have to diversify our state a little bit more, so that, and that's something that I think we do need to work on. And we still need to do more recruiting. The biggest barrier that we have is that students think it's too expensive. And so one of the things that we're working with the legislature on is doing more college in the high schools so that students can have a college-like experience right in their high schools, do well, and then they can say, I can do this. Because often they really are worried that they can't do the work, and the truth is, they can. And please do, go out there, and all the young people you know, like I say, we have other great universities, Washington State University, Western Washington University, Central, Evergreen, et cetera. Please tell them a college education is affordable in the state of Washington. Make UW their first choice.
Stay here for a second. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your candor and all the incredible information and giving us a great sense of pride in our university. In appreciation for your presentation, we have made a donation in your honor to Harvest Against Hunger of 600 portions of nutrient-dense produce.
Wonderful.
Totally awesome. We had some nutrient-dense produce in our salads, and you're going to get some more opportunity to help others that way. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I love the idea of what you said your goal was for the university, because the goal for Seattle Rotary is to be the finest Rotary Club in the world as measured by impact. Okay? Thanks for that inspiration. We have some great events this month at Rotary. To tell us about one is Jan Levy. She'll provide information for us on an event to support Harvest Against Hunger, and Jane Gladish will provide our other announcements.
Thanks, Nancy. Harvest Against Hunger, as you know, was started by Rotary District 5030. And on March 1st, we are having our annual Hearts and Wine event. And if you haven't signed up, my suggestion is you go to the website and sign up today, because we are literally maybe 20 people away from selling out, which is a first, I think. It's a great event. You'll have a chance to taste wonderful wines, bid on wonderful auction items that are all food related, have a chance to win some tickets on Alaska Airlines, and besides that, most important, you'll be helping Harvest Against Hunger. I hope I see all of you on March 1st at Soto Park on First Avenue South. We'll see you then. Thank you.
I have an amendment to something that Jan said. There is one auction item that is from one of our very own Seattle Fours. Is Sue Nixon has donated some time to sing. I think we should all go in on it and just get her here for a party. We all like to party, right? Very excited to share with you some upcoming things. But first, I really want to stop and say, I was so grumpy this morning, and I'm not grumpy very often. So then I get here, and I'm usually one of the first people here, and I look around, and so many of you are present, and it brought genuine joy to me. I can go home and be a really happy, good mom to my kids that are home all week for midwinter break. I want to know who designed that. But it brings me so much joy to spend time with all of you and to see that you're all excited to get here and be here and our greeters and all of those wonderful things. So I hope you continue to join us to spread this joy at all of our upcoming events. Tonight, the Rotary Club that is ending sex trafficking is doing an online webinar on online safety and sex trafficking prevention. That's at 6 o'clock. If you have any questions, Virginia's back there, and I bet she would love to have a really full Zoom room of that. Fantastic. You need to know about this for your grandchildren and your children and everybody that you know that's college-aged. The next thing that we have is you need to get your vote in for the SRSF Community Impact Grant. John Steckler said he did that first, but don't be the last and make sure you get that in. It's really incredible. If you didn't have time to attend the event, go read about them and make your selection. You need to know how your dollars are being spent, and there's not a bad choice there amongst the three. The next thing is the registration deadline for the WPGA Championship is on Monday the 26th. President Nancy has said it is so much fun, so don't miss out. We're only about half full, and if Rotarians don't do it, it's opened up to the public. So get there, proselytize, get more Rotarians. And then on Leap Day, the 29th, is our Rotary Day at UW Foster School of Business. Today is the very last day to register. Talk to Barton if you have any questions, but I don't think you should miss it. It's a really great way to kind of continue to push that impact that we've heard all about today. And then the last thing is our next meeting is here again at the Westin on March 6th, where we will have Joni Balter of Seattle U, and we'll discuss threats to journalism locally. So that'll be great. See you all then.
Thank you, Jen. And we are so excited to actually have us go to the Foster School of Business and be able to see in action the Business Mentors program that Rotarians helped start years ago. And we have a number of people in our Rotary Club that volunteer as mentors to businesses in our region and have an incredible impact that way. So I'm excited about us seeing them in person there. Oftentimes we've had them come here, and I came up with that idea to say, let's go there and see what they do, and we'll be able to meet undergrads and graduate students from the Foster School. So excited about that on February 29th. President Cauce, in 20 minutes and a little bit of Q&A, it's hard to capture completely all that's involved with your work at the university and the things that University of Washington is doing. We're grateful to you as a leader for not being afraid to tackle some of these challenges. She actually didn't mention some of the challenges that impact her sleep at night, but just keep in mind a few things that she'll have on the plate. She knows that sustainability for colleges is a challenge. Finding a more stable financial model for college ed. The ability to deal with some of the changing preferences of student population. Those are just 3 examples of things she's worrying about. And then we've had some national news of challenges happening on other campuses that are things we don't want to see happening again. That's not what higher ed's supposed to be about. So I just commend you for your presence there. 38 years of involvement on faculty and up through administration is invaluable. Yeah, she started. Yeah, she and Neil McReynolds will compare dates on that. That'll be great. So thank you for your willingness to serve at such a time as this. We admire you greatly and know that we are cheering you on. Just know that we're cheering you on, and that as employers, we're looking to hire UW graduates and are proud to do so. So go Dogs. And we are adjourned for the day.